Hello guys. How are you guys? I hope you're all okay. I hope you've learned a lot during the past week. Okay, for this video, I will be giving some tips or pointers, some reminders on the subjects or topics that you must remember, okay, before you take your ACP examination. So, before I start, I just want to talk about what I reviewed before I took the ACP examination. So I've read Polanski, of course, the notes given in the review center, and then of course the handout or the main book given by the ACP. Okay, of course yung uh, BOC natin, okay, yung Order of Certification Notes. Okay, so if gahol na kayo sa oras or if goal kayo sa oras or may duty kayo, okay, so the most probable reviewer I suggest, of course, yung Polanski and yung notes. Okay, and yung BOC additional review. Okay, so if gusto nyo balikan yung mga subjects na pinakamahina kayo, I suggest you read BOC. Okay, so medyo mahaba kasi yung BOC. Although maganda siya sagutan kasi question and answer type siya and may rationale. Okay, so maganda siya basahin. But usually kasi yung mga tanong dyan sa BOC, usually hindi na siya tinatanong sa mismong examination. So parang ano lang talaga siya, review. Okay, para ma-brush up yung yung mga topics na dapat na alam mo. Okay, so usually pag goal ka talaga sa oras, yung Polanski, okay, uh, on the go pwede mo siyang basahin. Okay, as well as yung notes. Okay. So let's start first about start talking about first with clinical chemistry. Okay. So let's talk about the diagnosis of diabetes mellitus for clinical chemistry. So again, diabetes mellitus is characterized by hyperglycemia, okay, or increased blood sugar. So how is it diagnosed? Okay, so according to the American Diabetes Association, the diagnostic criteria for diabetes includes, of course, increase in hemoglobin A1C, increased fasting glucose, increased 2-hour glucose following 2-hour glucose load, and increased random glucose provided that the patient exhibits symptoms. Okay, so the classic hyperglycemia symptoms. So the symptoms includes, of course, yung 3 Ps natin, yung polyuria, polyphagia, and polydipsia. Okay, so in here, for the diagnosis of DM in clinical chemistry part, dapat alam na alam natin yung mga values. So, again, yung mga values diagnostic for DDM dapat alam natin. Okay, so for FBS, greater than or equal to 126. For OGTT, we have greater than or equal to 200. Okay, and RBS then, greater than or equal to 200. And HbA1c, okay, greater than or equal to 6.5. Okay, so in here for the diagnosis, in case of absence of unequivocal hyperglycemia, so dapat yung mga values repeated on the second day para ma-confirm. Okay, so usually for DM diagnosis, usually two values yung kailangan or yung ginagawa. Okay, in order for us to confirm the presence of diabetes mellitus. So again, dapat memorize itong values na to. Okay, so how is it being asked in the ACP examination? Okay, so uh, the exam will give you a result and then you will interpret what is the most likely. Okay, reason kung bakit ganun yung result. Okay, so in here, for example, the fasting blood sugar is 135 milligram per deciliter and then yung OGTT, 260 milligram per deciliter. So what is the most likely? Okay, reason kung bakit ganyan yung result. So again, if you remember, for fasting blood sugar, in order for you to diagnose DM, so dapat greater than or equal to 126. For OGTT naman, again, greater than or equal to 200. Okay, so both values are diagnostic for DM. Okay, so the answer for this question is presumptive for DM. Okay, so again, dapat greater than, okay? Alam yung diagnostic for DM. So, ano naman to impaired glucose tolerance? So, again, impaired glucose tolerance, siya naman yung tinatawag natin as a pre-diabetes stage. Okay, in which hindi siya normal pero hindi rin siya exactly diagnostic for DM. Okay, nasa borderline. Okay, so yung tinatawag natin na pre-diabetes. Okay, so how about for this question? So a patient exhibits increased thirst and urination given the following results: fasting blood sugar 128, OGTT 240. Okay, so again, both values are diagnostic for DM since yung FBS niya greater than or equal to 126 and then OGTT naman greater than 200. Okay, so ang tanong naman dito, hindi ko ano yung interpretation. Okay, so ang tanong dito is what would you do? Okay, as a medical laboratory scientist if you received such results. Okay, so ang gagawin ng medtech dyan, of course, since dalawang value na yung given, unequivocal hyperglycemia is present. Okay, so of course, since they are both diagnostic for DM, wala ka nang gagawing testing. Okay, so again, they are both diagnostic for DM. Okay, so check for HbA1c is not, ito pwede to usually. Okay, HbA1c pwede, di ba? Provided that at least one value. Okay, one value abnormal. So again, you need to confirm by the presence of another test. Kapag isa lang yung unequivocal hyperglycemia, again, check for another test. Okay, confirm it on the second day by using a different test. So pwedeng check for HbA1c or repeat test. Pero again, in this case, dalawa na kasi yung values, dalawa na yung value na given. So again, no further testing needed na siya. Okay, next. Again, recap lang tayo with the classification of hyperlipidemia according to Fredrickson. So again, there are 5 types. Okay, so and here may appearance ng serum appearance as well as kung ano yung mga lipoproteins na present dun sa sample. Okay, na maging present kada type. So for type 1, it contains chylomicron, okay, only. So yung serum appearance niya, okay, after uh, serum appearance is may production of creamy layer. Okay, may appearance ng creamy layer. How about for type 2? Okay, both contains LDL. Okay, but in type 2B, okay, 2B, B, LDL. Okay, may laman siya na VLDL for type 2B. Okay, so for type 2A, ang appearance niya, serum appearance is clear. And for type 2, we have turbid appearance. So, ang palatandaan ko dyan, if isang type may laman na chylomicrons, ang basic serum appearance nun is creamy layer. So, kapag may VLDL naman, may turbid naman na serum appearance. Okay, so for type 3, we have presence of IDL or intermediate density lipoprotein and beta VLDL. Okay. Okay, so again, VLDL contains VLDL. So again, maging appearance na turbid. For type 4 naman, VLDL, okay, turbid. Type 5, chylomicrons, and both chylomicrons and VLDL. So ang serum appearance niya, of course, again, pag may chylomicrons, creamy layer. Kapag may VLDL, may turbid serum. Okay, so ang palatandaan ko dyan, itong table, yung both, yung nasa dulo, nasa up and bottom, parehong may laman na chylomicrons. Okay, so start sa pinakadulo, pinaka-extreme. And then yung type 2, again, ang palatandaan ko dyan, itong 2 na Roman numeral, okay, so kapag pinagsama mo yan, pag pinag-join mo yan, magmumukha siyang letter L. Okay, so again, for type 2A and 2B naman, may A and B. So B, BLDL, siya yung may laman ng VLDL. Okay, so for type 4 and 5 naman, both sila may VLDL kasi silang dalawa may letter V na kasama. Okay, so si type 3 medyo naiiba. Okay, may IDL at may beta VLDL. Okay, so paano naman siya tinatanong or ano yung mga pwedeng itanong sa kanya? Okay, it can be asked like this. So, for example, a fasting serum sample for an asymptomatic 42-year-old woman is examined visually with the following results. So, the initial appearance of serum is milky, and then the serum appearance after overnight refrigeration becomes creamy layer over turbid serum. Okay, so initial appearance of the serum, milky. Okay, so ibig sabihin may appearance ng, sabihin chylous siya. Okay, may appearance ng lipoproteins. So after overnight refrigeration, okay, naging appearance ng serum, may creamy layer over turbid. Okay? So again, ang palatandaan natin kapag may creamy layer, again, it may indicate presence of chylomicrons, and then pag turbid serum naman, presence of VLDL. Okay, in the classification of hyperlipidemia. So, what does it most likely contain? Okay, in your question. Okay, so most probably again, it may contain chylomicrons and very low density lipoprotein. Okay, next. So that's it for clinical chemistry. So, saglit lang 'yon. Okay, so microbiology. Ito yung medyo i-emphasize ko yung microbiology. Okay, so first for microbiology, what if you were given this kind of question? Okay, so a respiratory specimen with suspected bioterrorism agent shows gram-negative coccobacilli. Okay, gram-negative coccobacilli. Below are the following results after incubation at chocolate agar plate. So yung biochemical results niya includes oxidase negative, catalase weakly positive, beta-lactamase production positive, urease negative, satellitism growth around S. aureus positive. So ang tanong, the medical laboratory scientists should, okay, letter A, suspect Brucella and Francisella, B, confirm Brucella species, C, confirm Francisella species, D, rule out Brucella and Francisella. Okay, so in here, medyo alam mo na agad yung pagpipilian mo organism. Okay, so Brucella, Francisella. Pero usually naman kasi, ang mga bioterrorism agent natin, the usual or the routinely encountered bioterrorism agent in the United States are actually gram-negative coccobacilli. Okay, so may isang gram-positive at may isang gram-neg. Okay, so yung gram-positive, of course, si Bacillus anthracis, and yung gram-neg na bacilli, si Yersinia pestis. Okay, but karamihan, lagi na routine encountered mga gram-negative coccobacilli. Okay, so in here, thankful, medyo maganda kasi ang given the organism. But again, usually naman mga gram-neg coccobacilli. Okay, so before answering this, let's talk about first the laboratory response network. So laboratory response network is associated with the identification or dealing or sila yung naghahawak ng mga suspected bioterrorism agent. Okay? So what is the laboratory response network for biological threat or LRNB? Okay, so LRNB was founded by CDC, FBI, and APHL. So CDC again, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and APHL, or the American, or rather Association of Public Health Laboratories. So sila yung gumawa ng LRNB. So LRNB is a three-tiered system, okay, in which yung nasa ilalim, doon nagsa-start, is yung Sentinel Laboratories natin. Okay, Sentinel Laboratories. Next, we have yung reference laboratory, and yung nasa pinakataas, we have yung national laboratory. Okay, so ano ba yung main purpose nitong Sentinel Laboratories? So Sentinel Laboratories is comprised of hospital-based and commercial laboratories and are responsible for the early detection and rule out or referral of potential bioterrorism agents. So basically, the main purpose of Sentinel Laboratories is to recognize a bioterrorism agent in a given sample, okay, as well as rule out, okay, rule out by means of performing biochemical tests. Okay, and in case if they aren't able to rule out the suspected bioterrorism agent, they should refer to the reference laboratory for confirmatory testing. Okay, so sila yung magpo-perform ng confirmatory testing. Usually, for confirmatory testing, ang ginagawa nila, gumagamit sila ng mga nucleic acid techniques or mga 16S sequencing, okay, 16S RNA sequencing. So usually, yun yung ginagawa nila, mga molecular techniques. And then, if they confirm that it is truly a suspected bioterrorism agent, then i-contact nila Sentinel Laboratories. Okay, at ipapadala yung sample sa kanila. And then, eventually, isa-send nila yun sa National Laboratory for strain characterization, bioforensics, okay, we have biothreat agent activity, and of course, yung handling mismo. Okay, doon yung ginagawa ng national laboratories. So usually, dun sa previous question, since ang sinabi, they are handling suspected bioterrorism agent and they are performing biochemical test, so we can conclude na yung tinutukoy doon na system ng LRN is actually Sentinel Laboratories. So again, ang ginagawa lang nila doon, ang purpose nila is for recognize, okay, rule out, okay, and refer. Okay? So, ano naman yung protocol ng LRN with regards to both Francisella and Brucella? Okay? Since yun yung dalawang organisms na associated dun sa question. Okay, so before doing that, so before dealing with that, ito yung rule out algorithm ng LRNB towards yung mga gram-neg bacilli and coccobacilli. Okay, so again, yung mga bacilli lang, yung mga usual or routine organisms na hinahandle nila, na-encounter nila ay gram-negative at coccobacilli. Gram-neg bacilli and gram-neg coccobacilli. So again, may isang kasama na gram-positive. We have yung Bacillus anthracis. So yung 5 organisms here include Burkholderia pseudomallei, okay, Burkholderia pseudomallei, which cause melioidosis. Okay, Yersinia pestis, again, we have yung bubonic plague. For Brucella, okay, of course, brucellosis or Malta fever. For Burkholderia malei, which causes glanders or farcy. Francisella tularensis, we have yung rabbit fever, okay, or tularemia. Okay, so these are the 5 organisms here. So, paano mag-start yung rule out? So, again, lahat sila gram-negative. Okay, if for example, growth on MAC, okay, growth on MAC, again, no or poor growth. Pag no or poor growth, check mo na ngayon yung catalase reactivity. So, kanina, na-mention doon sa mga result, ay negative or weakly positive yung catalase. Di ba? Weakly positive. So, dito tayo pupunta. Weakly positive catalase. Is oxidase negative? Okay, so yes. Grows better than chalk on BAP. So, it isn't indicated but nag-grows sa chocolate. So, yes. Satellite negative. Okay, so ang sagot doon is, regarding kanina, satellite negative, of course, nakalagay doon yes. Okay, but we'll check later kung kung ano na yung mismo characterization ng Francisella. Okay? Pero we will try to read or try to uh, talk about yung Francisella Trends guidelines. So again, si Brucella, uh, rule out na siya agad natin because again, catalase positive pa lang. Okay? Yes, catalase ang given doon, weakly positive doon, siya yes agad. Okay, so rule out na agad. Oxidase positive, so again, oxidase negative given. Tapos urea negative yung given, di ba? So again, satellite naman siya. So dito pa lang at this step, rule out na agad si Brucella. But in here, si Francisella, medyo sketchy or medyo malapit sa result. Okay, so try to go over with Francisella. So again, ulitin lang natin yung Brucella and rule out algorithm. So again, faintly staining, negative coccobacilli. So may satellite ba siya? So again, no satellite. No satellite, rather, may satellite siya. Okay, yes. Kaso, uh, sorry. Okay, so may satellite siya, kaso in here negative. Okay, so ibig sabihin no siya, no, kasi may satellite niya. So again, ruled out na si Brucella. Okay, ruled out na si Brucella. So you can consider Haemophilus since siya yung may satellite towards S. aureus. Okay? So what if, for example, na-rule in si Brucella or di siya completely na-ruled out? Paano yung reporting ni Brucella? Okay, so Brucella, ang reporting is that Brucella is not ruled out and then refer for LRN reference level laboratory. Okay, so again, ang interpretation doon, hindi agad confirm Brucella. Okay, hindi siya agad confirm Brucella because again, the main purpose of the satellite laboratories is to uh, recognize, rule out, and then refer. Okay, so ang gagawin niya lang, i-rule out, but again, ang di niya gagawin is to confirm. So, ang gagawin niya, submit lang to the LRN reference laboratory for confirmatory testing. Okay? So, ano ba yung mga characteristics na dapat tandaan with Brucella? Okay? Dapat satellite negative, oxidase and catalase positive. Okay, itong tatlo. Satellite negative, oxidase and catalase positive, and urea positive. So, kapag yon meron, nakita agad sa problem, that's, okay, Brucella. Okay, rule out si Brucella. Not rule out si Brucella. Okay, for tularemia naman, Francisella tularensis. So, again, no growth on MAC. Okay, faint pleomorphic negative coccobacilli. Okay, so again, may growth sa chocolate. Okay, yes. Okay, yes. Our colony is satellite negative. So yung satellitism kanina, positive. Okay, so in here, dito sa chart na to, magpupunta ka ngayon sa no. Okay, so ang answer here, Francisella then ruled out. Okay, so confirm with routine identification. So you can consider Haemophilus since again, ito yung na-exhibit ng satellitism. So kanina, in here, at first glance, yung sa kaninang ruling out natin, magmumukhang Francisella yung tamang sagot. Okay, but again, huwag kakalimutan kapag positive ang satellitism, okay, hindi na pwedeng maging Francisella yan. Okay, isa yun sa dapat tandaan in regards to Francisella. Okay, so si Francisella, oxidase negative, catalase weakly positive, beta-lactamase positive, okay, urease negative, but okay, wag kakalimutan, satellitism dapat negative. Okay? Okay, satellitism negative. So the answer here for this question is letter D. Rule out both Brucella and Francisella. Okay? So again, try to remember this one. Satellitism again dapat negative. Okay? In order for you to not rule out Francisella. Okay? So what if for example, you've encountered itong satellitism negative? Okay? So anong gagawin mo? So of course, kung negative, hindi mo na pwedeng ma-rule out si Francisella. Okay? So ano yung best of most probable answer na dapat mo sagutin. So again, ang our proper reporting nun is Francisella tularensis cannot be ruled out. Refer to LRN reference laboratory. Okay, so yun yung most proper answer for that. Okay, so what if wala naman yung answer na yon? Anong pipiliin mo? Okay, pwedeng possible Francisella. Okay, kahit wala na nakalagay na refer to LRN. Okay, possible Francisella. Okay, last choice na tong confirm Francisella. Okay, last choice na to, itong confirm Francisella. Okay, last choice na to. Okay, so bakit ito yung last choice? Okay, itong confirm Francisella. So again, for LRN Sentinel Laboratories, you cannot confirm Francisella. So sino yung magko-confirm ng Francisella? Okay, mga LRN reference laboratory. So again, ito kapag suspected bioterrorism with biochemical test, usually yan mga LRN Sentinel laboratories. Okay? Next to this question, which testing platform meets this description? An isolated colony is irradiated by a laser which ionizes the biomolecules and causes them to become accelerated in an electric field. So the ionized biomolecules then enter a flight tube where they are separated by their mass to charge ratio. Okay, so ang keyword natin here is yung naka-red. Okay, irradiated by a laser which ionizes the biomolecules. Okay, so for this question rather, the answer is letter A, of course, Malditov MS. So again, Malditov MS is something to do with laser, okay, irradiation of laser and nagkakaroon ng ionization ng mga biomolecules. Okay, it's either proteins, okay, depende kung ano yung subject or analyte of interest. Okay, so ano ba itong multiplex PCR na yan? So multiplex PCR is amplification of multiple targets in single PCR. Usually kasi isang target lang ina-amplify mo in a given nucleic acid, but for multiplex PCR, you try to amplify multiple targets. Okay, for pulsed field gel electrophoresis, nucleic acid technique din yan, molecular technique, in which you obtain DNA fingerprint through subjecting an isolate or bacterial isolate with an electrical field. So isa-separate mo muna yung bacterial isolate and then you try to mix the bacterial isolate with an agarose gel and then isasubject mo with an electrical field. So, okay, so after mo ma-separate, okay, and then i-sustain yun, okay, and then makukuha mo yung DNA fingerprint. For sequencing, nucleic acid technique then, determination of the primary structure or sequence, okay, sequence of the biopolymer. So, usually, yung mga biopolymer natin here, pwedeng maging proteins, pwedeng nucleic acid, DNA, RNA. Okay, so you try to determine the order or yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng mga nucleotides. Okay, so let's talk about Malditov MS. Okay, so Ito model of MS, nagiging trend na siya ngayon sa microbiology laboratory kasi it provides innovation in the laboratory because it promises to provide results or identification of an organism sa reduced time. Okay? So, usually kasi ang identification natatapos after how many days? 1 week. Okay, but for model of MS, for the identification, it only kinukuha niya ng oras is usually 15 minutes, okay, for the identification. Okay, so what is MALDI of MS? So MALDI of MS stands for Matrix Assisted Laser Desorption Ionization Time of Flight Mass Spectrometry. Okay, so basically MALDI of MS, it uses it is about taxonomic identification based on the mass fingerprint of the unique protein. So again, yung mga proteins natin subjected to a laser. Okay, and then yung proteins na yon or yung isolate is then ionized, and then yung ionized molecules na yon are then transferred and then identified based on their mass charge ratio. Okay, and then the resulting mass spectrum for a given sample organism is compared with the reference spectra of known microorganisms. So in here, yung nakuha mong result with the bacterial isolate, it is being compared with the reference spectra, okay, na nasa database. So kapag magkapareho sila, so they are given identity, so dun pumapasok yung identification. Okay, so may comparison nung nakuha ng result from the sample organism to the reference database. Okay, so, ano ba yung mga gamit ni Model of MS aside from microbiology? So, it is mainly used for proteomics. Before siya gamitin sa microbiology, ginagamit na siya for proteomics. Okay, ano ba yung proteomics? So, proteomics basically involves an identification or quantification of overall proteins present in a cell, tissue, or organism. So, basically, it is a study of proteins found in a cell, tissue, or organism. Okay, so lahat ng proteins yan. For medicine naman, it can be used for diagnosis of certain diseases, most specifically, okay, for diagnosis of some carcinoma or cancer, okay, for organic chemistry, okay, and then of course yung microbiology for identification of microorganisms. Okay, so paano ba ginagawa itong model of MS? Okay, so paano ba siya ginagawa? So start first, of course, with the sample preparation. Okay, okay. So in here, a colony or a well-isolated colony is selected and deposited on a well of the plate. So ito yung plate, itong gray. So mag-isolate, kukuha ka ng well-isolated colony and then you transfer it into sa plate. Okay, so an well-isolated colony is selected, okay, to ensure that you are identifying a single organism because mixture with other colonies may cause misidentification. Okay, so kailangan dapat talaga well-isolated colony para hindi magkaroon ng mix-up ng organism, and then uh, hindi ka magkaroon ng misidentification. Okay? So, next, after placing the isolated colony on the plate, maglalagay ka ngayon ng matrix dun sa same position dun sa plate. Okay, matrix as well as formic acid. Okay, so matrix and formic acid is added to the plate to aid in the ionization of proteins without causing them to fragment. Okay, so usually yung matrix na in-add natin dito is cinnamic acid. Okay, cinnamic acid and formic acid. So usually, again, ang main purpose nila to aid in the further ionization of the proteins present in the bacterial isolate. Okay, so para mas maganda yung makuha nating sample spectra or result. Okay, so after that, the isolated colony here, okay, is being put in this ionization chamber. Okay, so ano nangyayari sa ionization chamber? So the sample or the isolated colony is irradiated with laser. Okay, and then that subjection with laser generates ions. Okay, generates ions from the proteins present in the sample. So ito yung sample, magkakaroon ng mga ions present, kaya siya ionization chamber. Okay, and then these ions are accelerated into an electrical field which directs them to the analyzer. So yung analyzer, yung second part of the machine. Okay, analyzer, nandito yung electrical charge or electrical field. Okay, so again, these ions are accelerated into an electrical field which directs them to the analyzer. Okay, so ano ginagawa ng analyzer? So it separates the ions according to their time of flight. Okay, sa bilis ng pag-travel nila. So the time of flight here depends on the mass to charge ratio of the ions. Okay, simply mas maliliit yung mga molecules, okay, mas mataas yung mass charge ratio, okay, yun yung mas mabagal yung velocity, okay. So kapag uh, mababa naman yung mass charge ratio, yun naman yung mataas yung velocity. Okay, so yung mga smaller molecules yung mas mabibilis attaches to the detector first and then followed by the biggest. Yung sa detector yung nasa pinakadulo nung uh, time of flight tube natin. Okay, dito sa analyzer. And then, ang purpose nitong detector na to is to convert yung ions present here in the tube, okay, into an electrical current, okay, which is then amplified and then digitized, okay, digitized into itong table na to, itong illustration na to, okay, it is digitized and is compared with the reference spectra in the database. Okay, so again, itong detector, it converts the ions here into an electric current, okay, which is amplified and then digitized ito and then compared to the reference database or reference spectra, okay, para magkaroon ng comparison ng mga proteins. So, ano yung main mga advantages nitong MALDI-TOF MS? Okay, so again, as I've said earlier, MALDI-TOF MS promises to give results for at least 15 minutes. Okay, so advantage niya is to give rapid identification as compared with routine biochemical test. Okay, so masyado siyang time consuming since ibang magsasubject ka pa minsan in the subculture, okay, para padamin mo na yung colonies and then ilalagay mo pa sa media and then incubate mo pa ulit dito, okay, uh, you can get the isolated colony from primary culture media, okay, at pwede mo na agad siya ma-identify. Okay, so mas bababa talaga, okay, yung mismong process. Okay, so again, pwede ka mag-isolated colony, kumuha ng isolated colony from the primary culture plate, thereby, of course, reducing the turnaround time for the result. Okay. Next, as I've said earlier, primary culture plate, since dun pa lang pwede ka na makapagkuha ng colony, ma-identify, hindi mo na kailangan gumamit ng iba pang media, okay, as well as gumamit ng mga reagent to identify the organism, okay, thereby producing fewer consumables and fewer cost, okay, fewer cost on the long run, okay. So, aside from that, testing can also be performed from single colonies, again, yeah, from primary culture plates, so thereby producing fewer consumables or cost, okay. So, ano naman yung mga limitation o yung pagkukulang nitong mallet of MS? Okay, so although it is used for identification profile, the antimicrobial susceptibility profile here from mallet of MS is are not directly determined. Okay, so usually, pang identification lang talaga to si mallet of MS. Okay, so paano na yung ginagawa ng antimicrobial sa test? Okay, gumagamit ka pa rin ng ibang machine. Okay, usually naman, uh, Smallet of MS yung mag-identify, tapos ibang mga machine yung gagawa ng AST. Okay? So, another limitation of Mallet of MS is that the identification is limited to the size of the current database. Okay? Meaning, so again nga, para saan ba itong database na to? Okay, dito mo i-compare yung ions na nakuha sa sample mo. Okay, so paano kung konti lang yung, for example, limited lang yung organisms sa database mo? Of course, hindi mo na mako-compare yung mga ions sa sample mo. Okay, hindi mo siya ma-identify. Okay, so aside from that, one of the greatest weakness, most probably the greatest weakness of Mallet of MS is that it has Mallet of MS inability to distinguish E. coli from Shigella. Okay, so ito yung most probable weakness daw ng Mallet of MS, the inability to distinguish E. coli from Shigella. So why? So Shigella here is not present on the database because its spectra are indistinguishable from those of E. coli. Okay, so hindi talaga na-identify si E. coli at Shigella. Okay, napag-identify. So usually, for E. coli, ang ginagawa na lang nila is to perform yung routine biochemical test pa rin. Okay, for E. coli. So, nandyan yung dapat na results for oxidase negative, lactose fermentation, indole positive, okay? As well as, of course, isa din na ginagamit na test nila is yung MUG, yung methyl umbelliferyl beta-D glucuronidase test, okay? So, which is, of course, positive si E. coli, Okay? Yun yung isa sa pinaperform nila to presumptively identify E. coli. Okay? Aside from that, Yersinia pestis also may pose challenges for the MALDI-TOF MSID. Okay, so aside from E. coli, misidentification Shigella, Yersinia pestis also may pose challenges for MALDI-TOF MS identification. Okay, aside from that, ano pa yung mga ibang limitations? So laboratory errors may occur due to erroneous target plate location, impure colonies, smearing between spots, failure to clean plates, or erroneous data entry. All of which, of course, may cause misidentification of the organism. Okay, so again, kung maaalala, again, dapat well-isolated colony siya to ensure na yun talaga yung in-identify mo at isang organism lang yon. Okay, so again, presence of a mixed specimen, okay, mixed colonies, of course, prevent the identification. Okay? So, dapat, malinis dapat yung plate, okay? Walang smearing between spots, okay? As well as, dapat dun lang sa mismong target well mo inoculate yung substance or yung bacterial isolate. Okay. So again, review what is the advantage of MALDI of MS over traditional automated microbiological method. Okay, so again, ano yung advantage ng method of MS over traditional automated microbiological methods? Okay, so we can try to eliminate. Okay, so fewer consumables. Yes. Okay, check mo natin may iba pang answer. Fewer consumables, yes. So again nga, for method of MS, since you can acquire sample on the primary culture plates na. Okay, so it can eliminate the further need for another media reagents. Okay, so sa mga subculture na media for subculture. Okay, so thereby, of course, producing fewer costs or fewer consumables. For letter B, rapid susceptibility profiles. Susceptibility meaning antimicrobial susceptibility test. So again, a monitor of MS for AST is not routinely done or not routinely na ginagawa for Molotov. Okay, so dito kasama, letter C, produces an amplified signals of DNA. So again, Molotov MS is based on the ionization of proteins and then being compared to the reference spectra. So again, walang kinalaman si amplified signals of DNA dito. Okay, hindi siya nucleic acid molecular technique. Okay, so di kasama. D, does not require isolated colonies. Okay, so again, one of the limitation of Madrid MS is that it requires well-isolated colonies because again, presence of multiple specimens or multiple organisms in mixed colonies may prevent identification. Okay, so magka-confuse yung comparison between reference spectra and bacterial or the specimen spectra. Okay, so the answer here for this question is letter A, fewer consumables. How about for the next question? Proteomics is study of. Again, proteomics is one of yung uses ng mallet of MS natin before siya gamitin sa microbiology. And again, proteomics is the overall identification and quantification of proteins present in the cell, okay, tissue, or in a uh, organism. Okay, so again, proteomics here, the answer here for proteomics is letter A, of course, cellular proteins. So proteins, again, overall proteins present in a cell, tissue, or an organism. So DNA kasi RNA expression, dyan po papasok si molecular biology. Okay, pag proteomics, okay, we have yung cellular proteins, overall proteins. Which of the following can be mistaken for Escherichia in Maldiv of MS? Okay, so again, one the considered as the greatest weakness of Maldiv of MS is the inability for Maldiv of MS to identify Escherichia. Okay, so it mistakenly identifies Escherichia for Shigella. So how you again presumptively identify Escherichia? Oxidase negative, MUG positive, lactose fermentation, and indole positive. Next, we're going to talk about the extended spectrum beta-lactamases. So some gram-negative bacilli, some isolates of Klebsiella pneumoniae, Klebsiella oxytoca, E. coli, Enterobacter, Citrobacter, and Proteus mirabilis produce enzymes known as extended spectrum beta-lactamases. So ano ba itong mga beta-lactamases na to? Okay, if you try to remember, beta-lactam drug is under medication that inhibits the synthesis of the cell wall. Okay, kasi itong beta-lactam na to, ito yung component ng mga cell wall synthesis inhibitor, okay, for their bactericidal killing. So, for example, isang organism na produce ng beta-lactamase enzyme, okay, sisirain niya yung beta-lactam ring. Okay, so kung nawala yung beta-lactam ring, mawala yung capacity of that drug to kill the bacterial organism. Okay? Kaya siya important malaman itong beta-lactamases na to. So the ESBL producing strains, itong mga isolates na to, okay, may be resistant to certain drugs like penicillins, cephalosporins, and aztreonam, okay, to which most of strains of these species are susceptible. So yung mga ESBL producing strain may be resistant to penicillin, cephalosporin, and aztreonam. Okay, so take note for Klebsiella pneumoniae. Okay, just want to emphasize that all strains of Klebsiella pneumoniae are ampicillin resistant. So again, Klebsiella pneumoniae kasi kasama rin siya sa pwede maging ESBL producing isolate. Okay, so again, ampicillin here is included under penicillin. Okay, next, we're gonna talk about or pag-usapan natin ng carbapenem resistant Enterobacteriaceae. So some Enterobacteriaceae, so aside from ESBL producing Enterobacteriaceae, some also uh, isolates from Enterobacteriaceae are resistant to nearly all antibiotics, okay, including carbapenems. Okay, mga carbapenems include imipenem, doripenem, meropenem, and ertapenem, which are often considered antibiotics of the last resort. So usually naman kasi ang last resort kapag may mga MDR enterics ka, okay, ang last resort na drug is carbapenems. Okay, so kapag uh, itong mga Enterobacteriaceae na to nag-develop ng carbapenemase, okay, presence ng enzymes toward carbapenem drug class, it is considered as the last resort. So urgent threat, okay, kinakatakutan to. Okay, so how is this being detected in the laboratory? The production of carbapenemase. So by performing modified Hodge test. Okay, so modified Hodge test identifies carbapenemase production in Enterobacteriaceae. So the positive result here is the clover leaf-like indentation. So in here, ito yung positive result in this illustration. Okay, so uh, as you can see, okay, so as you can see, as compared with the negative result, may spaces here. Okay, may indentation forming a clover-like, leaf-like appearance. So ito, negative kasi wala, dire-diretso. Okay, so ito yung positive result. Okay, ito yung negative na opening. Okay, so yung positive result, clover leaf-like identification, mukha siyang clover leaf. Okay, so here is an article produced or published by the CDC. Okay, it is the bacteriophagy in the 2019 AR antibiotic resistant threats report. So, if you can observe in here in the urgent threats, okay, nandito si carbapenem resistant Enterobacteriaceae. So again, the presence of carbapenemase is considered significant because again, carbapenem is considered as the last resort drug for Enterobacteriaceae infection. Okay, so if naka-encounter kayo nito sa laboratory, carbapenem resistant na Enterobacteriaceae, dapat it may it is a concern for the hospital safety infection control. Okay, so you can contact or medyo inform si hospital infection control regarding the presence of this organism because this organism, carbapenem resistant Enterobacteriaceae, are a threat to the public health. Okay, so it is a threat to the public health. Okay. Next, review or recap lang tayo with hernia skin scrapings preparation, specimen preparation. So again, these are the specimens commonly requested for fungal culture. So what are you trying to recover here for hernia and skin scrapings? So it is used mainly for the recovery of dermatophytes. So again, yung dermatophytes natin, these are fungal agents which have a predilection on the keratinized parts of our body. So ano ba yung mga keratinized part of the body? We have of course yung hair, nail, at skin. Okay, so ano ba yung mga fungal agents or fungal organisms associated with dermatophytes? So we have again yung microsporum, okay, we have trichophyton and epidermophyton. Okay, so these three genera, okay, these three genera, okay, take note that yung specimens nito must be stored at a dry, sterile container. Okay, so dry because as you can see, ito hair, nail, and skin, sila yung mga prone sa mga bacterial contaminants. Okay, so again, if you've collected in a moist environment, ang tendency is mag-proliferate yung mga bacteria na yon. Okay, mahihirapan tayo mag-identify at ma-interfere yung growth natin sa fungal culture. Okay, aside from that, being in a dry, sterile container, take note, it must be maintained, both the specimen and the culture media at room temperature. Okay, so it must not be stored at the refrigerated temperature. Okay, so ano yung reason? Because epidermophyton flocosum, again, one of the dermatophyte, is susceptible to cold temperature. Okay, wag kakalimutan, dapat for our specimen for hair, nail, skin, and hair, nail, skin scrapings, dapat dry, sterile container and maintain at room temperature. So again, we have E. flocosum being susceptible to cold temperature. Okay. Next, for this question, a sputum culture from a 13-year-old cystic fibrosis patient grew a predominance of short gram-negative rods that tested oxidase negative. So, okay, take note, oxidase negative. Okay, oxidase negative. On McConkey agar, chocolate, and blood agar plates, the organism appeared to have a lavender green pigment. So further testing showed, okay, ang result is motility positive, DNase positive, glucose oxidative positive, maltose oxidative positive, lysine decarboxylase positive, and eskeline hydrolysis positive. What is the most likely identification? So ito mga naka-red in yung mga characteristics, okay, of morphological colonial characteristics and biochemical characteristics na dapat tandaan nyo sa organism na to. Okay, so this organism being referred to is Stenotrophomonas maltophilia. So wag kakalimutan, Stenotrophomonas maltophilia, again, have a lavender green pigment, glucose positive, of course, oxidative, maltose oxidative, and oxidase negative. So take note here for glucose positive, oxidative, and maltose positive and oxidative. Again, mas mabilis niya na na-oxidize si maltose as compared with glucose. Okay, so for example, pwede kayo maka-encounter ng mga Stenotrophomonas na positive agad sa maltose, okay, na negative sa glucose, positive agad sa maltose. Okay, because again, mas faster niya, mas mabilis niya na ina-oxidize ang maltose as compared with glucose. So recap lang tayo with Stenotrophomonas maltophilia. It is the third most frequently isolated non-fermentative gram-negative rod. So again, non-fermentative because uh, in order to acquire energy, ang ginagawa niya is to oxidize yung mga sugars, not ferment. Okay? So it is associated with patients which have cystic fibrosis. Okay, so wag kakalimutan, aside from Pseudomonas aeruginosa, okay, as well as Burkholderia cepacia, one of the organisms being associated with cystic fibrosis includes Stenotrophomonas maltophilia. Okay, so again, ito yung mga results na tatandaan. Oxidase negative, glucose maltose oxidizer, LDC positive, and DNase positive. Okay, so it produces ammonia odor as well as lavender colonies with greenish discoloration underneath. And take note, since it is Stenotrophomonas maltophilia, uh, it is associated in the hospital infection. Okay, nosocomial infection, Stenotrophomonas. Okay, since it is being associated in hospital-acquired infection or nosocomial infection, usually mga yon, like Pseudomonas, mga resistant yon sa mga antimicrobial agent. Okay, so Stenotrophomonas is resistant to most currently available antimicrobial agent. Okay, so what is the drug of choice for Stenotrophomonas multifida? So trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole. Okay. So with this question, how will you differentiate Stenotrophomonas multifida from other organisms in its group? Okay, so again, Stenotrophomonas, again, oxidizes both glucose and maltose. Again, it is the third most commonly recovered gram-negative, non-fermentative rod in the hospital setting. Okay? So, tanggalin mo na agad si glucose fermenter, yung mga may fermenter, okay? Such as letter A and letter B. Okay, we have maltose, oxidizer, multi-drug resistant, letter C, and D, pyocyinin production, no growth on McConkey. Okay, so the answer here, of course, nakita na natin, alam na natin, We have maltose oxidizer multi-drug resistant. So again, Stenotrophomonas maltophilia is associated with hospital-acquired infection. Okay, and they are indicated to be resistant to almost or not, if not all, okay, microbial agents, antimicrobial agents. Okay, so again, what is the drug of choice here for Stenotrophomonas maltophilia? Okay, we have the trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole. Okay, so now we go next to hematology. So let's talk about the hemoglobin determination. So again, hemoglobin determination in the laboratory is done by means of a spectrophotometric analysis. Okay, so any since it is being done a spectrophotometric analysis, okay, mga factors or variable that may affect the appearance of the sample itself, okay, may cause uh, erroneous results in hemoglobin determination. Okay, so ano ba yung mga uh, variables na yon? So any changes that may cause changes in the appearance of the sample. Pwedeng turbidity, okay, pwedeng mga ganon. Okay, so ano ba yung mga sources of error? So first we have cyan methemoglobin reagent being sensitive to light. Okay, so paano mo isa-store itong cyan methemoglobin? Okay, so it should be stored in a brown bottle or in a dark place. So ano ba magiging result if hindi mo na-store in a brown bottle or in a dark place? Of course, magiging falsely decreased yung result natin for hemoglobin. Okay? How about if there's high WBC in case of leukemia and high platelet count, okay, greater than 700 times 10 raised to 9 per liter? Again, since mataas yung WBC and platelet count, this may interfere with the appearance of the sample. Again, this may cause turbidity, so thereby causing an erroneous result in the hemoglobin determination. So what is the resolution here? So the reagent sample solution can be centrifuged and the supernatant be measured. Okay? So ang mangyayari dyan, if for example, hindi mo siya na-resolve, ang mangyayari dyan, falsely elevated naman, okay, yung result mo. Okay, falsely elevated if there's high WBC and high platelet count. Okay, how about if yung sample mo may leukemia, icteric, or may presence ng chylomicron? Okay, so again, this may interfere with the appearance of the sample, thereby causing a false elevated hemoglobin result. Okay, so what is the resolution here? Okay, you can do a plasma replacement technique, okay, with equal amounts of saline rather, or you can use reagent blank. Okay, para ma-bypass niya yung appearance ng serum. Okay, may bypass yung appearance ng sample. Next sources of error, if may presence daw ng lysis-resistant RBCs with abnormal hemoglobin. So yung mga abnormal RBCs daw na may hemoglobin na HbS associated with sickle cell disease, F naman, and C may fail to lyse. Okay? So since ang main purpose na for hemoglobin determination, dapat malayas dapat yung RBCs para ma-liberate yung hemoglobin, which can then be detected through spectrophotometric determination. So kapag hindi nag-lyse yung RBCs dahil nga lyse resistant sila, okay, hindi magla-lyse hemoglobin, bababa yung uh, sorry. So if they fail to lyse, they may cause turbidity, okay, and then affecting again yung appearance ng appearance ng sample natin. Okay, thereby causing increased result natin for hemoglobin. Aside from that, if there are also increased WBCs, okay, aside from that, rather, for example, may presence again ng RBCs, then they fail to lyse, ang mangyayari nun, aside from hemoglobin at aakyat, pwede rin umakyat yung WBC natin. Okay, take note. So kapag naka-encounter kayo ng mga tanong na uh, in sudden method, biglang tumaas or mataas yung uh, hemoglobin and WBCs as compared with the results yesterday or another method. Okay, so you can suspect na baka may problem or may presence ng lyse-resistant RBCs. Okay, so how can you resolve this problem? Perform manual dilution or allow incubation time for lysis since these lysis-resistant RBCs can be also lysed, but again, dapat mas mahaba yung incubation time. So for this example, for example, delta check of the patient's results are the following. Hemoglobin niya at day 1 is 12.1, day 2 is 12.7, day 3 13.9, day 4 11.9, day 5 12.3. So the abnormal result in day 3 is most probably due to, okay, so again, tingin tayo dito sa result in day 3, 13.9. So as compared with the day 2, 12.7, kinabukasan naman 11.9, Okay, day 5, 5.3, 5.1. So, kung mapapansin, si day 1, 2, 4, 5, medyo close sila sa isa. Okay, medyo naiba lang from day 2 to 3, bila nadagdagan ng 1.2. Okay, so mataas yung change from day 2 to 3. Okay, so sudden increase in the hemoglobin result. Okay, so again, hemoglobin result, among these choices, which is associated with high hemoglobin result. Okay, so A, late afternoon specimen, B, instrument malfunction, C, lyse-resistant RBCs, D, cyanamide hemoglobin reagent is exposed to light. Okay, so in here, the most probable result is, of course, again, kakabanggit lang natin the presence of lyse-resistant RBCs. So again, lyse-resistant RBCs will cause increased turbidity. Okay, so since they fail to lyse, they may cause turbidity in the sample and then thereby affecting the appearance of the sample, causing an increase in the hemoglobin result. Okay, let's talk about some WBC anomalies. Okay, so first, let's talk about hypersegmented neutrophil. So hypersegmented neutrophils are neutrophils which have six or more lobes in the granulocyte nucleus. Okay, mga neutrophil na 6 or more yung lobes. Usually kasi 3 to 5. Okay, 3 to 5 yung normal lobulations ng nucleus. 3 to 5. So, anong mga condition associated with hypersegmented neutrophil? We have megaloblastic anemias. Again, di ba, megaloblastic anemias, chronic infection, myelodysplastic syndrome, rarely inherited. So, aside from that, you can also add yung tinatawag natin na WHIM syndrome. WHIM syndrome is a rare immunodeficiency syndrome. Okay, WHIM syndrome stands for warts, hypersegmented neutrophil. Okay, warts. Okay, warts, uh, hypogammaglobulinemia, I for immunodeficiency, and M for myelokathexis. Okay, so yung WHIM syndrome. So, saan associated si hypersegmented neutrophils sa WHIM syndrome? Dun sa myelokathexis. Okay, so ano ibig sabihin ng myelokathexis? Myelo for bone marrow, cathexis for retention. Okay, so ang nangyayari doon, yung mga WBCs uh, are actually stored much longer in the bone marrow. Okay, kaya paglabas niya dun sa bone marrow, hypersegmented na siya or mature na siya. Okay. Next WBC anomaly, we have yung Chidiac-Higashi syndrome. So Chidiac-Higashi syndrome is a non-malignant WBC disorder in which there is an abnormal aggregation or fusion of lysosomal granules. Okay, so ito nakikita mong mga darkly staining present in the neutrophil are lysosomal granules. So since there is an aggregation of granules, okay, aggregation of granules, okay, bumababa yung bactericidal killing or effect nitong mga neutrophils na to. Okay, so itong si Chidiac-Higashi syndrome results to a dysnormality or dysfunction of a WBC. Okay, so abnormal yung mga WBCs with Chidiac-Higashi syndrome. Okay, next we have yung toxic granulation. So here, toxic granulations, the normal presence of uh, increased or prominent dark purple black granules. Okay, so what are these toxic granulation? They are primary granules actually. So saan sila associate yung toxic granulation? So they are associated in sepsis, severe bacterial condition. Okay, dun sila lumalabas sa toxic granulation. So si toxic granulation, okay, may be commonly misidentified as aldehyde anomaly. Okay, so pareho sila ng appearance. So bakit sila pareho ng appearance? So they may also show same deep purple black granules. Okay, but in here for aldehyde anomaly, instead of being associated with severe bacterial infections or sepsis, for aldehyde anomaly, it is associated with a mucopolysaccharidosis or abnormality in the glycogen storage diseases. Okay? Ano ba yung mga diseases or conditions associated with abnormal mucopolysaccharide, okay, production? Okay, so we have yung Hurler syndrome, Hunter syndrome, Sanfilippo syndrome, and Markio syndrome. Okay, yung mga yon, they are mucopolysaccharidoses. Okay, abnormal accumulation of mucopolysaccharides. Okay, Again, magkakalimutan si Alder-Riley anomaly and toxic granulation may be similar in morphology. But again, different sila ng cause. Next, we have yung hour rods. Hour rods are usually present in myeloblasts, okay, myeloblast and promyelocyte because these hour rods are actually an aggregation of primary granules. So, saan ba nagsa-start yung formation ng primary granules? Sa promyelocyte. Okay? So, but sometimes they may also be present in some myeloblasts. Okay? So, an aggregation of hour rods is what we call as phagot cell. Okay? So, ano pang dapat tandaan dito with hour rods? So, it is associated with certain type of myeloid leukemia. Okay? Specifically, huwag kakalimutan yung M3 natin. Okay? So, again, M3 natin or acute promyelocytic leukemia associated with having hour rods, okay, sa mga promyelocyte or myeloblast or yung tinatawag natin na phagot cell. Okay? Yung aggregation ng hour rods, okay, tinatawag na phagot cell. Okay, huwag kakalimutan, present in APL or acute promyelocytic leukemia or M3. Next, we have dull body. So, dull body are gray blue variably shaped inclusion, okay, that is stained light blue, okay, and then it is thought to be remnants of ribosomal RNA, or it is composed of a ribosomal RNA. So, it is associated with variety of condition. They may include, okay, bacterial infection, sepsis, and normal pregnancy. So, same sila, again, ng mga condition associated ni uh, toxic granulation. Okay, they are seen on severe bacterial infections or sepsis. Okay, so these Dolly body may be confused, of course, with the Meheglin anomaly because in Meheglin anomaly, it may show pseudo-dole bodies or dole-like bodies. So bakit dole-like bodies? Kasi hindi naman to dole body. Okay, itong dole body again present in severe bacterial infection or sepsis. Si pseudo-dole body or dole-like body present sa Meheglin anomaly. Okay, so ano ba yung Meheglin anomaly? So, this Meheglin anomaly is characterized by thrombocytopenia, okay, low platelet count with large platelets or giant platelets. Okay, huwag kakalimutan. So, large is characterized by giant platelets and thrombocytopenia. So, ano ba yung effect nitong Meheglin anomaly sa WBC function? Okay, wala. Wala naman siyang pathologic significance. Okay, so normal pa rin yung function ng WBCs with Meheglin anomaly. So the inclusions on the cytoplasm of a neutrophil stained blue on a right stain and is thought to be remnants of cytoplasmic RNA. So again, uh, ano ulit yung light blue in appearance and is thought to be remnants of cytoplasmic RNA or RNA. So again, the answer for this question is letter C, dual bodies. So again, for letter A, Chiari-Higashi inclusions, it is an abnormal fusion of lysosomal granules. We have for average naman, abnormal aggregation or fusion of primary or azurophilic granules. Okay, for aldehyde inclusions naman, uh, it is an inclusion associated with mucopolysaccharidosis. Okay, or abnormal accumulation of mucopolysaccharides. So the cells seen in this illustration are associated with abnormal synthesis rate of. So ano ba yung meron dito sa slide natin, sa picture natin? So again, these are hypersegmented neutrophil. So again, neutrophils having 6 or more lobulations on the nucleus. So again, lobulations on the nucleus. So again, hypersegmented neutrophils are associated with a variety of condition. So it may include WHIM syndrome, yung nabanggit ko kanina, or yung tinatawag natin na megaloblastic anemia. Okay, and megaloblastic anemia, if you remember, is a type of anemia in which there is abnormal synthesis or defect in the DNA metabolism. Okay, so the answer here for this question is the normal synthesis rate of DNA. So again, megaloblastic anemia, there is an abnormal synthesis rate of DNA in which, okay, yung mga RBCs for megaloblastic anemia nagkakaroon ng macrocytic appearance since there is a failure for the nucleus to mature since nga wala ng DNA. Okay, so si DNA hindi nagmamature, yung cytoplasm nagmamature. Okay, causing a macrocytic appearance of RBCs as well as hypersegmented neutrophil. For hemoglobin, ano kayang inclusions or anong cell pwedeng makita? Okay, pwedeng yung mga Heinz body inclusion. Okay, so pwedeng punctuate basophilia. Okay, so if you remember, punctuate basophilia is seen in lead poisoning or lead porphyria. And lead porphyria is categorized, of course, abnormal synthesis of hemoglobin. Okay, specifically yung heme portion natin. Okay, for iron naman, pwede ka siguro makakita ng mga Pappenheimer bodies or siderocytes. Okay, for RNA, um, kanina, okay, yung dual bodies, di ba? Cytoplasmic RNA or ribosomal RNA. Or pwede ring presence of reticulum present in the reticulocytes. Okay, they may also indicate, again, presence of RNA. So let's talk about hemostasis. Okay, but for this part of hemostasis, I will be talking only on the primary hemostasis part. Okay, so hemostasis is has a two-phase, okay, two-phase procedure yan, two-phase stage of hemostasis. We have yung primary hemostasis and secondary hemostasis. For primary hemostasis, it involves the platelets, action of platelets together with the actions of the blood vessels or the endothelial lining. Okay, for secondary hemostasis, it involves naman action ng mga, of course, yung coagulation protein natin. Okay, so let's talk about the interaction between the platelets and blood vessels with primary hemostasis. So for primary hemostasis, we have three steps or three parts. Okay, so let's start first with platelet adhesion. So platelet adhesion is a reversible action, okay, in which, take note, platelets here attach the non-plate surfaces. But in here, for primary hemostasis, the non-plated surfaces being indicated here is the endothelial gaps. Okay, yung mga breaks sa skin. Okay, for example. Okay, so the platelet adhesion here is mediated by the unrolling of von Willebrand factor. So the granule or the substance mainly indicated or associated with platelet adhesion is the von Willebrand factor. Okay? So, ano ba tong function nitong von Willebrand factor? Okay? Siya yung nagmi-mediate ng attachment ng platelet papunta sa endothelial gap. Okay? So, it sort of acts like a glue. Okay? Para ma-attach yung platelet natin sa endothelial gap. Okay? So, saan ba mag-attach si von Willebrand factor? So, si von Willebrand factor again mag-attach sa endothelial lining and then isang part ni von Willebrand naman mag-attach sa GP1B95 receptor ng platelets. Okay? So, dyan siya mag-attach. So, kung matatandaan natin, again, if there is a deficiency of this receptor, hindi makakadikit rather, si von Willebrand factor. Again, ito yung tinatawag natin na Bernard-Solier syndrome. Deficiency of GP1B95 receptor. So again, it is categorized under abnormality in platelet adhesion. Okay? For Bernard-Solier syndrome. So, ano ba yung mga characteristic result for Bernard-Solier syndrome? Again, meron dyan thrombocytopenia and of course, yun may giant platelet. Okay, giant platelet din for Bernard-Solier syndrome. Ano ba dapat nating tandaan dyan? Okay, so yung result niya for platelet aggregometry or platelet aggregation tests. So, huwag kakalimutan, in Bernard-Solier syndrome, siya ulit yung may abnormal result in the presence of epinephrine, collagen, and ADP. Okay, so these three are potent agonists for platelet activation. So abnormal siya in the presence of epinephrine, collagen, and ADP. And normal in result or normal aggregation with restosity. Next, we have the platelet aggregation secretion. So for these last two steps, wala talaga siyang definite na pagkakasunod-sunod because both platelet aggregation and both platelet aggregation secretion happen simultaneously. Okay, so both of these steps are irreversible in results okay of formation of platelet plugs. Okay, formation of platelet plugs mediated by the presence of fibrinogen. So ano bang action nitong fibrinogen? Okay, so siya yung nag-stabilize ng attachment ng platelet with each other in platelet plugs. Okay, so aside from that, aside from formation of platelet plugs, some platelet granules are also secreted. Okay. Okay. So ano ba yung function ng mga granules being secreted here in the platelet aggregation secretion? So the platelets here, the granules here are, the purpose of those granules is to activate, okay, and recruit other platelets to the site of injury. Okay. So what are the granules being secreted here necessary for the activation and the recruitment of other platelets? Okay, so take note again yung mga potent agonists natin for platelet activation. Okay, include ADP and thromboxane E2. Okay, so if you try to remember, thromboxane A2 is the main product associated with eicosanoid pathway. Okay, associated with eicosanoid pathway. So again, anong drug yung nag-inhibit sa formation ng thromboxane A2? Okay, we have yung aspirin. Okay, so again, aspirin inhibits the enzyme cyclooxygenase, which is needed for the normal production of thromboxane A2. Okay, so again, these two granules are potent agonists required for platelet activation and recruitment. Okay, so again, as I've said earlier, aggregation here is mediated by the presence of fibrinogen. Okay, so saan ba, si fibrinogen, kung kanina nabanggit natin si von Willebrand factor, okay, siya yung nag-act as a glue, okay, para dumikit yung platelet sa endothelial lining. Ito naman si fibrinogen, siya yung nag-act as a glue sa platelet, okay, para magdikit-dikit sila sa isa't isa. Okay, yung fibrinogen. Okay, so saan naman nag-a-attach si fibrinogen? So fibrinogen attaches to the GP2B3A receptor of the platelets. Okay, so deficiency of this receptor, GP2B3A, again, ito yung alam na alam natin, we have yung Glanzmann's thrombasthenia. Okay, so for Glanzmann's thrombasthenia, wag kakalimutan yung result niya for platelet aggregometry or platelet aggregation test. Okay, abnormal yung rhistocytine, and then normal yung epinephrine, collagen, and ADP. Again, normal yung ECA. So for this question, the second irreversible phase of primary hemostasis involves the release of which substance to promote platelet activation? Okay, so again, the second irreversible phase, we have yung aggregation or secretion. Okay, so again, the potent agonist or granules being released there in that phase is mainly designed for the recruitment as well as activation of platelet. Okay, so ano yung mga potent agonists na yun? We have yung thromboxane A2 and of course yung ADP. So the answer here is letter B, ADP. So again, fibrinogen naman, it is our granule, okay, or this a substance needed for the uh, platelet, formation of platelet plug or aggregation. Okay, this activation ng platelet. Okay, para mag-mediate na attachment ng platelet with each other. So von Willebrand factor naman, again, it is important in the first phase, okay, which is platelet addition. PDGF naman or platelet-derived growth factor necessary for healing naman endothelial gaps. Okay. Which of the following disease states has a prolonged bleeding time and shows abnormal results in epinephrine, collagen, and ADP in platelet aggregation tests? So for pag platelet or prolonged bleeding time, then you can say na baka may problem sa primary hemostasis since primary hemostasis involves the action or interaction of platelets and endothelial lining. Okay, so in here, ano kaya yung tamang sagot? Okay. So again, huwag kakalimutan yung results for platelet aggregation test. So in here, the answer is letter A. So si hemophilia A, hindi siya kasama because it isn't concerned about prolonged blooding time. Okay, for hemophilia A, prolonged yung clotting time niyan. Okay, prolonged yung clotting time. Okay, may deficiency ng factor 8 as well as prolonged yung APTT. Okay, for Glanzmann thrombasthenia naman, prolonged din yung blooding time, but take note again, huwag kakalimutan, for platelet aggregation tests, abnormal yung rhistocytine, normal yung ECA, or epinephrine, collagen, and ADP. For Rosenthal syndrome naman, or tinatawag natin na hemophilia C, okay, so since hemophilia C siya, okay, may deficiency sa coagulation protein, prolonged yung clotting time, deficiency factor 11, okay, which is in the intrinsic phase, prolonged the APTT. So again, for Bernard-Sollier syndrome, yun yung tinatawag natin din na giant platelet syndrome. Okay, for Bernard-Sollier. Next, we're gonna talk about cellulose acetate hemoglobin electrophoresis. So again, for the screening for hemoglobinopathies, okay, usually may mga screening dyan. But in order for you to confirm yung presence talaga ng abnormal hemoglobins or thalassemia, you need to perform hemoglobin electrophoresis. Okay, so in here is an example of yung pattern natin for hemoglobin electrophoresis. So for normal patients, again, in normal patients, ang predominant hemoglobin for normal patients is yung HbA natin. Okay, again, which is composed of 2 alpha chain and 2 beta chain. Okay, aside from that, ito yung major predominant, it may also contain slight amounts of hemoglobin A2. Okay, hemoglobin A2. As well as, although wala dito, pero may presence tayo ng 2 to 5% of hemoglobin F. Okay, so pwedeng A, F, at letter A2. So dito pala, kailangan natin maalala yung order, okay? As well as yung mga hemoglobins na nag-commigrate with each other. Okay? So minsan kasi baka magbigay sila ng mga tanong, okay, na hindi given or ah, ganito lang yung first line lang pero hindi mo alam yung ibang nasa ilalim. Okay, baka mamaya malito ka in determining kung ano yung mga hemoglobin present or anong disease present. Okay, so it's important to know kung ano yung mga other hemoglobins na nagko-commigrate with hemoglobin C. Okay, so for sickle trait, again, sickle trait, ang hemoglobin na laman sa patient yan is, of course, hindi lang HbS. Okay? Ang general rule dyan, kapag trait yung nakalagay, may presence pa rin or majority hemoglobin pa rin na present is hemoglobin A. Okay? So yung general rule dyan. So since sickle trait, again, trait siya, majority pa din na laman pa rin na hemoglobin ni patient, of course, is hemoglobin A. But with an addition of hemoglobin S. Okay, sickle cell trait. So, yung magiging pattern niya dito, may pattern sa letter A, may pattern sa letter S. Okay. So, for hemoglobin D trait naman, again, trait din siya. Again, dapat pag trait, again, mga major hemoglobin pa din, hemoglobin A. Okay, so, and again, portion, again, with hemoglobin D. Okay, kung mapapansin, silang dalawa, similar sila ng appearance, ng pattern with cellulose acetate. So, how will you differentiate sickle trait and hemoglobin trait? Okay, hemoglobin D trait in terms of electrophoresis. Hindi cellulose acetate yung magdi-differentiate sa kanila. Okay, you need to subject them in citrate agar hemoglobin electrophoresis in which, okay, magsiseparate na yung S, D, at G. Okay, magsiseparate na siya. Okay, although ang mag-separate na si S hihiwalay, okay, magsasama pa rin si D at G. Okay? For SC disease naman, since just from the name itself, may laman siya ng hemoglobin S and hemoglobin C. Okay, having both uh, bands on hemoglobin S and C. Okay, for SE disease, just from the name itself, S and E, may presence sa S at E portion. For normal cord blood, okay, again, may presence ng A at F. So kung mapapansin, mas thicker yung band with hemoglobin F because again, the normal hemoglobin present in fetus, okay, of course, hemoglobin F. Okay? Mas limited amounts of hemoglobin A. For C. Harlem trait, again, trait, ibig sabihin, ang major predominant pa rin na, ang predominant hemoglobin pa rin na present here is hemoglobin A. Okay, and then, may presence na hemoglobin C. For control, lahat naman yan, pag control, lahat positive. Okay, so what if binigyan kayo ng ganitong tanong? Okay, given the following patterns on the alkaline hemoglobin electrophoresis this patient has. Okay, so dito, kung mapapansin, thick yung band with A, and then same na manifest yung F and hemoglobin C. Okay, so the choices are alpha thalassemia syndrome, sickle cell trait, hemoglobin AC, beta thalassemia major. Okay, so just from the choices itself, pwede mo na agad ma-eliminate si alpha thalassemia and beta thalassemia major. So ano ba yung mga major syndrome, clinically significant alpha thalassemia syndrome? We have yung HbH disease and HB-Bart. Okay, both of which affects, of course, the alpha globin production. Okay, so kung walang alpha globin, decrease yung amount sa alpha globin, okay, dapat kukonti yung band for HbA. Okay, so again, ano ba yung mga globin chain associated with HbA or normal adult hemoglobin? Okay, 2 alpha chain and 2 beta chain. So since decrease yung amount ng alpha globin, dapat maninipis na yan. Okay, hindi siya ganyan kakapal. Or possible pa na wala. Okay? Just for example with HB-Bart. Okay, since there are no alpha genes being inherited. Okay, so since walang alpha gene, walang alpha globins na na-produce, okay, in HB-Bart. Okay, so generally dapat sa dalawang to, HbH or HB-Bart, wala kasi naka-indicate, okay, syndrome lang. Okay, dapat manipis yung HbA na yan, hindi siya ganyan kakapal. For beta thalassemia major, ganun din yung rationale behind. Since beta thalassemia major, there is no beta globin chain being produced here. Okay, thereby, of course, since walang beta-globin chain, affected din yung production ng normal adult hemoglobin since it is composed of 2 alpha chain and 2 beta chain. So, tanggal na agad to si beta thalassemia major. Okay, so the answer here is either uh, B or C na lang. Okay, sickle cell trait with HbAs, hemoglobin AC, HbC trait. So again, pareho silang trait. Okay, so again, kasi may presence ng A. Okay, makapal yung portion na A. So ano kaya ang pwedeng sagot dito? HbAs or HbC trait? Of course, the answer here is HbC trait. Okay? Kasi nga naman, okay, walang band present in HbS. Okay, so the answer here is HbC trait. Okay, HbC trait. For example, kung walang HbAc or hemoglobin AC or HbC trait, ano ko yung probable na pwedeng maging result here? Okay, pwedeng maging result for or result in normal patient. Okay, pwede siyang normal patient. So, bakit siya normal patient? Okay, because again, normal patient contains a predominant hemoglobin is the major hemoglobin is still HbA. Okay, HbA. Again, it may contain also HbA2 and slight amounts of HbF. Okay. Next, we have ISBB. So first, we're going to talk about autologous donation. Okay, so autologous donation, just from the name is autologous, designed to, it is a donation, ang recipient is yourself, okay? So, ang requirement for autologous donation is di siya masyadong strict, okay, towards the requirement. So, there is no minimum or maximum age requirement. And the minimum hemoglobin hematocrit niya is greater than or equal to 11 for the hemoglobin or greater than or equal to 30%. Okay, 33% for hematocrit. Okay, so huwag kakalimutan, at yung requirement natin for autologous donation. Okay, at least 11 yung hemoglobin, 33% naman yung hematocrit. So we have four types of autologous donation. We have preoperative collection, we have acute normovolemic hemodilution, we have intraoperative collection, and postoperative salvaging. Okay, so let's talk about first with let's talk about preoperative collection. So it is a collection procedure in which it occurs during the 5 to 6 weeks before surgical procedure. Just from the names of preoperative, so before operahan, 5 to 6 before surgical procedure. So necessary uh, for preoperative collection, and here may dalawang facility being indicated. We have yung collecting facility and transfusing facility. Okay, so ang minimum test being done in both collecting facility at yung magta-transfuse ng blood is blood typing. Okay, blood typing. But for transfusing facility, okay, optional na gumawa ng cross match. Okay, optional na gumawa ng cross match. Okay, but usually in the laboratories ang ginagawa na lang ang recommended, okay, is kahit gumawa ka na lang ng saline, okay, saline cross matching or immediate spin cross match. Okay? But again, optional lang yung cross match. Okay, usually blood typing lang, ABO and RH typing. Okay, to confirm na sa kanya talaga yung dugo. Okay, so what if pareho yung collecting facility and transfusing facility. So, you need not to perform yung viral markers o yung mga antibodies. Pero, pag magkaiba yung collecting and transfusing facility, you need to perform yung viral markers o yung mga antibodies. Okay? Next, we have yung acute normovolemic hemodilution. So, here, ang process is tatanggalin mo yung collected na blood and then replace mo yung kinolect mo blood with crystalloid or colloid, okay, para ma-replace yung volume. Okay, para maging normovolemic pa rin si patient. Okay, normovolemic, sabihin normal yung blood volume. Since pinalitan mo nga ng crystalloid or colloid solutions. So the units here are generally not tested, labeled, or tracked since okay, yung blood sample or yung dugo mo dito hindi naman ilalabas na operating room. Okay, it does not leave the bedside. Okay, so since this ilalabas na operating room, it is not tested, labeled, or tracked. For intraoperative collection and postoperative salvaging, okay, so pareho silang collected of shed blood from surgical site during surgical operation yan. Okay, but take note, ano yung main difference nila. Okay, so intraoperative collection, the packed red cell volume collected here is concentrated. Meanwhile, for postoperative salvaging is usually diluted. Okay. So, ano namang difference nila ano pang difference aside from doon? For intraoperative collection, usually, yung blood din hindi lalabas sa bedside or sa operating room. But some of the blood may be stored post-operatively. Okay? And if it is stored post-operatively, should be labeled. Okay, of course, it should be labeled since lalabas siya ng operating room. Okay, there's a tendency for you to um, mix siya with other specimens or other units. Okay, so if it is stored post-operatively, the storage for the blood here is 6 hours at room temp and 24 hours at 1 to 6 degrees Celsius. Okay, since open to, okay, open yung collection, 24 hours yung maximum at ref. Okay, 24 hours at ref. For post-operative salvaging, the units here are generally not tested, labeled, or tracked since for post-operative salvaging, hindi lang malabas yung dugo sa operating room. Okay? Di katulad ng intraoperative, some may be stored post-operatively. So if you encounter this question, intraoperative salvaging of blood during surgery, okay, saan mo pwedeng i-transfuse daw yon pag intraoperative salvaging? Okay, so of course, you can transfuse it. Of course, intraoperative salvaging is under process of autologous donation. So dapat yung pagtatransfusan mo, yung recipient, of course, is yourself. Okay? Yourself. So only the patient. So it's between letter A and letter B. So for letter A, only the patient must be blood type and cross-matched. B, only the patient can be stored 1 to 6 degrees Celsius for up to 24 hours. So again, for intraoperative salvaging, ang ginagawa lang dyan, nililabel lang yan. Okay, label lang if it leaves the operating room. So ano lang yung binablood type natin or cross-match optionally. Okay, mga pre-operative collections, since it is stored or it is collected 5 to 6 prior to the surgical procedure pa. Okay, so may risk pa na misplace mo or mahalo mo sa ibang units. Okay, so again, for intraoperative salvaging here, ang main process lang dyan if it leaves the blood in the it leaves the blood, okay, from the operating room, store mo siya post-operatively, ililabel lang. Okay? So again, if it is labeled, take note again of the storage temperature. Okay? 6 hours at room temperature and 24 hours at ref temp. Okay, so the answer here is letter B. Next, previously an ORH negative patient has a positive DAT. The RH typing on the current sample will most probably be, okay, so, dapat dito, i-observe mo, okay? Observe mo na may presence ng RH control. Okay, ang RH control, ginagawa lang yan in case na anti-sear na ginamit mo for RH typing is a high protein reagent. Okay? So, RH control is only done if you use if the anti-D or the anti-sear used here is a high protein one. Okay? So, ano ba itong mga high protein RH typing na to? Before answering this question. Okay, so this high protein RH typing reagent consists of course, primarily Ig anti-D. So bakit sila high protein? Because it contains potentiators, bovine albumin, and other additives such as dextran or polyvinyl pyrrolidone. Okay, so to optimize reactivity in the standard slide and rapid tube test to allow for the direct agglutination of red cells using an IgG anti-D. So what is the main purpose of this high protein RH typing? Since it contains potentiators and other additives macromolecules such as dextran or polyvinyl pyrrolidone, of course, potentiators to, again, ang main purpose ng potentiator is to, of course, to reduce incubation time para makakuha ng mabilis na resulta. Aside from that, the main advantage of this typing reagent is the ability to perform weekly testing and slide typing. Okay? So, yung main focus niya, main advantage niya, reduce incubation and perform weekly testing. Since, again, these potentiators reduce incubation time as well as optimize reactivity. So, ano naman yung mga advantage nitong high protein na to? Okay? Since marami nga siyang protein and potentiator, okay, they may also increase the likelihood of false positive reaction. Okay? Okay, so aside from that, it may also show positive reaction in patient cells, okay, that are already coated with an antibody. Okay, so such as in patients with warm autoantibodies coating their cells or warm autoantibodies. Okay, so yung false positive reaction here is due to the tendency of the antibody-coated cells with IgG to agglutinate on their own without the addition of anti-D. Okay? So, yung false positive dito sa typing reagent is that since coated na sila with IgG, okay, ibig sabihin may tendency na mag-agglutinate or magkaroon ng spontaneous agglutination. Okay, so to assess the validity of the high protein RH typing result, okay, para ma-make sure mo kung uh, wala talagang present na antibody or yun na talaga yung result niya, okay, you must perform RH control. Okay? So before going to the RH typing control, so since again it false positive reaction, okay, again isa sa cause is yung presence ng potentiated and higher protein, as well as of course yung cells coated with IgG. So aside from that, false positive RH typing may also occur with reagent contamination, antibody to low incidence antigen, and human error. So take note, presence of antibody or antibody-coated cells or IgG sensitized cells or positive DAT may cause false positive result in RH typing. Okay, due to spontaneous agglutination. Okay, nag-agglutinate on their own. Aside from that, presence ng mga protein. Okay, mga RLU. Okay, plasma proteins may cause RLU formation. So let's talk about yung RH typing control again. It is performed if using high protein reagent. Okay, so a normal result for RH typing control dapat laging negative. So bakit laging negative dapat i-result with RH typing control? Okay, kasi ang laman nitong RH typing walang anti-D. Okay, ang laman lang niyan are mga proteins. Okay, mga potentiator natin ng mga macromolecules. So wala siyang anti-D. So dapat expected mo na negative laging result. So what if uh, positive yung result mo here? Okay, yung RH typing mo, okay, with that patient, invalid. Okay, invalid siya. Okay. So here, going back to the question, si patient, positive that. Okay, so ibig sabihin si patient, okay, yung cells niya, red cells niya, coated with antibodies. Okay, so kapag in-RH typing mo siya, again, kapag coated with antibodies, magkakaroon ng false positive reaction in RH typing, and then it may also show again positive reaction or false positive reaction in RH control. Since coated nga to ng antibody, okay, magiging invalid na yung RH control niya. Okay, so the answer here for this question is letter A. Okay. So take note, in high protein reagents, both the RH control and typing, okay, should be positive. Okay, take note again, huwag kakalimutan, in positive that, okay, both RH typing and control should be positive in high protein reagent. So ano yung resolution for this high protein reagent? Gumamit ka ng mga low protein reagent. Okay, mga low protein reagent. So usually naman in the laboratory, ang ginagamit na ngayon sa laboratory are monoclonal antibodies. Okay, para ma-limit or ma-eliminate yung mga false positive reaction. Okay. Next, following the RH typing of a patient, okay, RH phenotyping positive sa anti-D, anti-C, anti-E, anti-small c, and anti-small e. Okay, which of the following can be used to determine the probable genotype? So how will you approach this type of question? Okay, so in order for us to answer this, dapat alam natin yung dalawang information na to. Okay, ano yung una information? Ano yung mga antigens associated or targeted of these, ano yung mga antigens that are target of these antibodies? Okay, ano yung mga information na yon? Ano yung si V antigen, F antigen, CW antigen, and G antigen? Next, what is the most probable genotype that is associated with having this reaction in RH phenotyping? Okay, so ano yung most probably na genotype na pwedeng lumabas in these results? Okay, kasi doon mo malaman yung antibody na gagamitin mo, okay, antibody na pwedeng lumabas if may ganitong result. Okay, so let's talk about first yung mga antigens being targeted, okay, by these antibodies. So these antibodies being presented here are all yung mga antigens or alleles na minor, okay, with RH blood group, mga unusual. Okay, so let's talk about first with CW antigen. So CW antigen is a low prevalence antigen. Okay, so it results from a single amino acid change, most often found on the Rh big C small e protein. Okay, so take note, it's a low prevalence antigen. Okay, so usually if you've tried to meron kang antibodies towards CW, okay, readily available yung blood dito. Okay, kasi low prevalence antigen to, itong CW. Next, for V and VS antigen. So same with CW antigen, they are antigens of low prevalence, okay, present in the Caucasian population but are more prevalent among African American. So the same with CW antigen. Okay, so it results from a single amino acid change that results or that occurs in the Rh small c small e protein. So yung kanina, si CW, Rh big C small e. Si V and VS, Rh small c small e protein. Next, we have yung F antigen. So F antigen is expressed on the RBCs when both C and E are present on the same haplotype. So if you try to remember haplotype, ito yung mga genes or mga alleles na inherited sa isang parent. Okay? Inherited from a single parent. So, ibig sabihin, you see both small c and small e dapat nasa same side. Okay? Ito sa genotype natin. Okay? For Rh sub I, so it's an antigen expressed on the RBC when both big C and small e antigen are present. So same with F antigen, na-express lang yan if they are on the same side or on the same haplotype. Okay, so may big C and small e. Next, we have yung G antigen. So it is an antigen expressed or present on most D positive and all C positive RBC. Okay, so ito naman, same haplotype, okay, and then dapat magkatabi yung big D and big C. Okay, magkatabi yung big D and big C. Okay, magkakalimutan. Okay, so again, ito yung mga dapat tandaan. Okay, F, okay, associated with antigen, F antigen associated with red cells that has rather C, small c and small e antigen. Okay, so si G antigen naman, present naman yan in D positive and big C positive cells for Rh sub I. Okay, ito naman associated with big C antigen and small e antigen. Okay, so both VS at yung CW antigens natin, they are both low prevalence antigen. So in here, pwede mo nang ma-eliminate, okay, of course, si CW and anti-V. Okay, kasi nga naman, okay, they are both low prevalence antigen. Okay, so most probably, pag yun yung ginamit mo, okay, mahirap mo ma-detect since they are low prevalence antigen. So, it's either letter B or anti-F, anti-G. Okay, so pwede mo na kagad ma-answeran yun? Hindi pa. Okay, kasi kung mapapansin mo, if you remember, anti-F, okay, itong F antigen, present lang yan on the RBCs that have positive C and E. Okay, ito meron. So, yes. How about anti-G? Okay, again, antibodies towards G antigen. Ang G antigen naman, present lang yon sa mga red cells or sa mga patient na may big D at big C, okay, na red cells. So, ito, positive sa big D at big C. So, pwedeng B or D ang sagot, 'di ba? So, diyan na papasok yung second information na kailangan nating malaman ulit. Okay, so again, ano yung second information na yon? Okay, again, you must know or must determine the most probable genotype associated with this Rh phenotyping reaction. Okay, so this is a table, 18 possible reaction patterns associated with the 5 reactions of the anti-sera. Okay, so if you try to observe this table, saan natin nakita yan? Lahat positive yung lahat ng antigen. Okay, Rh antigen natin. So, if you try to look here, ano yung most probable genotype associated with this reaction? Okay, big D, big C, small e, big D, small c, big E. Okay, same for whites and blacks. Okay, so yan yung magiging clue natin kung paano natin malaman or anong antibody pwede natin magamit, okay, to determine the probable phenotype. Okay, so again, yung most probable genotype associated with this reaction is yung big D, big C, small e, and big D, small c, big E. Okay? So, let's try to check. Okay, yung pinagpipilian natin anti-F and anti-G. Okay, ano ulit yung anti-F? Anti-F, okay, so it agglutinates again, small c and small e. So may small c and small e ba dito? Wala. Okay, so si anti-G yung tamang sagot. Okay, si anti-G again agglutinates the G antigen. And G antigen is present on RBCs that expressed or that has a D positive and big C positive red cell. So ito siya, may D, big D and big C. So ang gagamitin mo dito to determine the probable genotype is anti-G. Okay? For example, walang anti-G sa tamang sagot. Ano pa kaya yung pwede mong gamitin? If you can notice here, isa dun sa antigen na nabanggit natin na present kapag magkatabi or same haplotype, yung big C and small e antigen. Ano ulit yon? Okay, yung RH sub I antigen natin. So, if walang anti-G, you can use anti-RH sub I. So again, RH sub I antigen is present on RBCs that have a big C positive and small e positive red cell. Okay, so again, positive yan in RH sub I, yung meron na RBCs na big C positive and small e positive. Okay. Next, for this question, given the following results on antibody screening, okay, wherein yung asterisk NT, okay, NT natin not tested. So, for antibody screening cells, we have 3 screening cells, okay, for 37 degrees Celsius with LISS, anti-IgG, and check cells, okay. Ang tanong here, what should the medical laboratory scientist do next? Okay, so ano ba yung problem here with this table? So, ang problem dito is actually weak, okay, weak or trace reaction in the anti-IgG in the screen cell 2. Okay, weak or trace reaction. Okay, most probably, yung mga natatrabaho dito or yung practical question, alam na agad yung sasagot dito. Okay, so, pero pag hindi naman, how will you approach this type of question? Okay, so ano ba yung nagkakos kung bakit, ano yung most common nagkakos ng false negative or weak reactions in anti-IgG or in antibody screening or in anti-human globulin testing. Okay, so ano ba yung mga cause nun? Okay, so it can be attributed to these two. Okay, serum cell ratios are not ideal or rare antibodies are present that are only detectable with polyspecific AHG and when active component is present. Okay? So, unang reason is that baka mamaya yung ratio ng serum na nilagay mo dun present sa cell, okay, hindi ideal kaya wala siyang makitang reaction, weak yung reaction. Okay, so you can increase the ratio of serum to cells, okay, by adding serum. Okay, maglalagay ka pa ng ibang serum to increase the sensitivity of the test system. So since masyadong weak yung antigens or rather yung antibody present dun sa cell, okay, you can try to add more serum. Okay, para mas dumami yung pwedeng pagdikitan ng AHG or na anti-IgG. So to detect weak antibodies, you can add 4 drops of serum with 1 drop of 3% RCS. Okay, so another reason kung bakit negative or trace yung reaction with anti-IgG or AHG is that baka naman, since anti-IgG yung ginamit, it is monospecific, okay? Baka naman yung antibodies present in the patients are detectable with using polyspecific AHG or baka naman may presence na active complement lang. Okay, so ano ba yung mga antibodies associated or na-detect lang with the anti-complement or anti-CTD, not on anti-IgG? Okay, so ano antibody yun? This is especially for anti-JKA. So again, it is an antibody under the kid blood group system which is indicated for delayed hemolytic transfusion reaction. Okay, so si anti-JKA, detected lang niyan sa anti-complement. Okay, anti-complement. So, but usually, sa laboratory, nililimit ang paggamit ng polyspecific AHG. Okay, because using polyspecific AHG may promote false positive reaction. Okay, since it detects both complement and IgG, pwede niya rin ma-detect yung mga insignificant or mga clinical insignificant antibodies. Okay? Na which are again present lang or ma-detect in kapag may anti-C3D or anti-complement. Okay, so yun yung ginagawa ng laboratory. Kaya usually anti-IgG na lang. Okay, so for this type of question, the most probable answer here is add more serum. Okay, to increase the sensitivity of the test. Okay, So again, pag ginamit mo yung polyspecific HG reagent, baka magkaroon ng false positive reaction. Okay? So what if wala tong admercerium na choice? Okay, you can, pwede mo nang piliin to. Yung use polyspecific HG reagent. Okay? But again, yung first priority answer natin dito is admercerium. Okay? Next. So recall or recap lang tayo with the ANA pattern. So ANA pattern usually yung ginagamit na screening for autoimmune disease. Okay? It's usually based usual principle natin for ANA is IF or indirect immunofluorescence. Okay, in which we try to detect yung mga patterns and then yung mga patterns na associated with certain antibodies and condition. Okay, so again, recap lang tayo for peripheral fluorescence or fluorescence. Associated antibodies are anti-DNA associated with SLE. For homogeneous fluorescence or diffuse, we have yung anti-DNA, anti-histone, and anti-deoxynucleoprotein or anti-nucleosome. Okay, yung mga RASLE, miscellaneous disorder. For speckled or mottled appearance, we have yung anti-SMNRNP, anti-RO-LA, si anti-RO or anti-SSA, si anti-LA or si anti-SSB, si anti-JO1, anti-MI2, and anti-SCL70. So these antibodies are what we call antibodies to extractable nuclear antigen. Okay, so anti-ENA natin itong mga to. So these anti-ENA, itong mga to, they have a speckled mottled appearance. So what are the conditions associated with anti-ENA or extractable nuclear antigen? We have SLE, Sjogren's syndrome, polymyositis, dermatomyositis, and progressive systemic sclerosis or scleroderma. For centromere antibody naman, okay, centromere appearance, okay, may mga punctuate na appearance, okay, you have yung anti-centromere antibody. So ano naman yung disease associated with anti-centromere body? Take note, scleroderma din. Okay, but in here, scleroderma here is limited cutaneous scleroderma. Okay, siya yung associated with CREST, okay, CREST syndrome. Take note, kapag scleroderma, it may manifest speckled or mottled pattern or centromere pattern. But in here, for centromere pattern, dapat associated with CREST. Okay, CREST syndrome. Okay, so ano ba tong CREST syndrome? So it stands for calcinosis, Raynaud phenomenon, for letter R, E for esophageal dysmotility, S for sclerodactyly, and letter T, we'll have telangiectasias. Telangiectasias. Okay, so again, for centromere, it's dyan associated si CREST syndrome. Okay, for nucleolar pattern, so medyo mas malaki siya as compared to centromere, mas few, and associated with having anti-nucleolar antibodies or antibodies with RNA. So again, yung RNA natin located sa nucleolus. Okay, so since may antibody siya with nucleolus, okay, so may antibody siya, of course, with RNA. Okay, so what are the conditions associated with anti-nucleolar antibodies, SLE, and progressive systemic sclerosis or scleroderma? Okay. Next, I just wanna emphasize itong Sjogren's syndrome natin. Sjogren's syndrome is characterized by dry eyes and mouth. Okay, wag kakalimutan. Defects sa mga fluid filling cavities or fluid living glands. Okay, so yung mga lacrimal glands, okay, or salivary glands. Okay, kaya characterized yan by dry eyes and mouth. So what are the antibodies associated with Sjogren's syndrome? Anti-SSA, anti-RO, or anti-SSB, anti-LA. Okay, so ano ibig sabihin to anti-SSA na to? Sjogren's syndrome antigen A or Sjogren's syndrome B antigen or anti-LA. Okay? Kaya SSA, SSB. Huwag kakalimutan, present ng dry eyes and dry mouth for Sjogren's syndrome. So here is a picture of a nucleolar pattern. Kung makapapansin, medyo malalaki yung granules. Okay, malalaki yung fluorescence na green. Okay, that is a nucleolar pattern. Again, ano yung mga antibodies associated with nucleolar pattern? Okay, so anti-nucleolar antibodies or mga antibodies with RNA. Okay, so antibodies to RNA. So here naman is an example, okay, of a pattern of centromere pattern. Again, medyo maliliit yung punctuate yung fluorescence niya. So again, this is associated with anti-centromere antibody in patients or in conditions with cutaneous or limited sclerosis. Okay, yung associated sa scleroderma associated with CREST syndrome. Okay, yung associated with CREST syndrome. Okay, next. With this following question, patient's ANA profile exhibited a speckled pattern with a titer of 1:640. Which of the following antibodies can be tested through ELISA? Okay, so usually again, ang screening natin for autoimmune disease is ANA. Okay, so usually doon, dinedetermine yung pattern as well as yung titer. Okay, so what if nag-positive or may fluorescence sa ANA? Okay, ano yung susunod na protocol? Okay, so kapag nag-positive sa ANA, ang ginagawa na doon, yung mas specific na method for ANA, which is ELISA. Okay, huwag kakalimutan, mas specific si ELISA as compared with ANA. Okay, because in ELISA, you're able to quantify as well as detect kung ano yung mismong antibody present kay patient. Okay, sa ANA kasi, dinetermine mo lang yung pattern. And kada pattern, may iba't ibang antibodies na related doon. And kay ELISA, determine mo na yung mismong antibody na yon. Okay, so pag positive sa ANA, and then ano yung mga antibodies na pwede mong i-detect through ELISA. So again, if you try to remember, for speckled or mottled pattern, we have yung anti-SM, anti-RNP, anti-RONLA, anti-JO1, anti-MI2, anti-SL70, which of course are under antibodies to extractable nuclear antigen. Okay? So, daanan ulit natin, si anti-SM, okay, associated with SLE, okay, and RNP. Okay, si anti-RONLA for Sjogren's syndrome, anti-JO1 associated with polymyositis, anti-MI2 associated with dermatomyositis. So SCL70, SCL, scleroderma. Okay? For ano pala, for here in sa homogeneous sa RA, again, remember lang ulit natin yung most specific, okay? Antibody for RA, which is yung anti-CCP natin, anti-cyclic citrullinated peptide. Okay, wag kakalimutan. Yun naman yung most specific antibody for RA. And then yung SLE, ang most specific antibody naman for SLE, not anti-SM and RNP. Okay, take note. Ang most specific antibody for SLE is the anti-dsDNA. Okay, anti-dsDNA. Okay, so the answer here, of course, letter A. Okay, anti-extractable nuclear antigen panel. Okay, next, for this question, I think this is the last question. Female patient with dry mouth and eyes. Okay, so ito pa lang, alam mo na agad yung sagot. Okay, characterized by dry mouth and eyes. So again, confirm lang natin. So positive yung ANA profile. Okay, so and then ginawa ng ELISA na antibody. So negative sa lahat. Okay, but positive si anti-SSA and anti-SSB. So again, anti-SSA and SSB, SSA stands for Sjogren's syndrome A antigen, so Sjogren's syndrome B antigen. Okay, so positive in SSA and SSB, of course, ang probable diagnosis dyan is Sjogren's syndrome. Okay, Sjogren's syndrome. Okay, so thank you guys. So I hope you've learned something. So again, pabalikan na lang to because some of this is really some of the topics here are really important. Okay, so I hope you guys pass the ACP examination. Okay, good luck guys. Thank you.